guys, it's Becky. Welcome back to my channel. I am doing this video as part of a request from you guys. If you've been following my channel for a while, especially the last month or so, I've been talking a lot about changes that I've been making in my own personal life that have been really difficult and I've been really struggling with, but also have been really fulfilling. And in one of those videos, I believe it was my 23 new things I tried in 2023 video, I asked you guys if you were interested in hearing about how you can become and work towards being the best version of yourself. Some of the things that I am personally doing and have been doing either for a short amount of time or a long amount of time to be the best version of myself. And you guys were like, yes, I want to see that. So even though it is the beginning of a new year, this is not something that you have to wait until January of a new year to do. These are things you can implement little by little, no matter what time of year it is. You can pick and choose from the list, add your own things to the list, but these are things in particular that I have been doing and I have noticed that has made the biggest impact, the biggest difference in me as a person. I have 8 things that, like I said, you can take step by step and just baby step your way through it. Maybe there's something on this list that you're already like really good at, skip it and go on to the next one. But these 8 things I think will really help you to grow and be the best version of yourself that you can be, no matter what time of year it is and no matter how old you are. The first thing is, and this is what I've really been working on in 2023, learning more about yourself. I know myself very, very well in certain categories. There's other things about myself that I just don't even stop to think about, whether it's because it doesn't occur to me to think about it. Maybe it's painful. Maybe I know I don't like something about myself, so I don't really think about it a whole lot. But learning more about yourself in all different ways is really important to help you pick and choose, like, I don't like this, I can fix it. You don't have to take yourself exactly the way you are. And there should be a little bit of, like, you know, confidence and self-love, but also realizing that you're always going to be able to improve in a variety of different ways. You're always going to be able to grow in a variety of different categories. And so really learning more about yourself. What makes you tick? What makes you happy? What makes you sad? Are there things that you're not addressing that if you really kind of address them and thought about them and worked through them, will they make you a better person going forward? There's a couple of ways that I have been doing this, learning more about myself, being a lot more thoughtful about myself. Just asking myself in the moment, why am I upset about this? Why am I mad about this? What makes me happy about this? And then if it's a good experience, you know, trying to replicate that as much as possible. And if it's a bad experience, thinking about, why am I really upset about this? And, you know, kind of reverse engineer it in your mind. I do that a lot when I get mad at somebody and I'm like, why am I mad about this? And what I have found by doing that is I'm pretty much almost always, my anger at somebody or a certain situation, I have found almost always stems from fear or not wanting to be embarrassed. So that's really, for me, what it has boiled down to. So I figured that out a lot through just thinking a lot through things. Journaling has been something I just started in 2023 that has been kind of an interesting journey, but really helpful for me. I've also been doing some online therapy with BetterHelp. I've talked about that. And I've mentioned, every time I mention therapy, I want to preface this by saying, you don't have to be in a very dire situation to need therapy. I think everybody could benefit from talking to somebody who is unbiased, who doesn't know you, doesn't know your family, doesn't know your friends. You don't have to tell them anything you don't want to, but their job is to sit there and listen. And I think everybody could benefit from that. Why do you feel the way that you do about yourself, the people around you, and your circumstances? That has been a huge thing that I've really been doing a lot in 2023 especially, and has really opened my eyes to a lot of things. Some things that are really good and some things that I have realized about myself that I really like, and then some things that I have really pretty much made myself aware of that I really don't like and I want to work towards improving. So kind of in tandem with that is reading. And I talked about that for 2023 as well. Trying to become a reader. For me, it's nonfiction books, so self-improvement books. And I do actually have a video, I don't think it's gone up yet, but it's basically talking about the dangers of self-help and self-improvement culture and how it can be toxic. So make sure you check that video out. If it hasn't come out yet, be on lookout for it. If it has been already, I will link it for you guys, but I don't think it's out yet. But reading and learning more about how people in general work, how I myself, you know, females or Christians, you know, all these different categories of the mind, and just deepening my understanding of myself and people in general, has been really helpful. And I'm not very consistent. I'm not gonna say I don't have time to read, because if I really made it a priority, I would have a lot more time to read. I choose not to read instead of doing other things. So that's just being honest. But I do really enjoy reading when I do, and there's so many books that I'm currently reading and that I have on my to be read list, because I just am really interested in learning more about myself and learning more about people and feelings and emotions in general. But I think I noticed that when I am reading, I'm a lot more thoughtful, and I'm recalling things. Like if something happens, I'm able to recall, I read that in that book, or I remember hearing that, or that book agrees totally with what I already knew about myself or about feelings or mindset. So reading really does make you a more thoughtful, intelligent person, as much as, you know, that sounds cliche, but it is definitely true. And I've noticed that it has improved me and my understanding of myself as I have been reading these different books. So highly encourage you guys, if you're not already, to read, or at least audiobooks. I think it'll really help to increase your knowledge and make you a better, more well-rounded person. The third thing is to volunteer. I know this is a hard one for me, because I do have a lot of like I mentioned earlier, I really don't like to be embarrassed. I'm always afraid if I volunteer, I'm gonna mess something up, or I'm gonna be like the dead weight in the group. So I have a really hard time with that. This year in particular, well, as I'm filming this, it's the end of 2023. By the time you see this, it's probably the first of 2024. But 2023 was really the first time that I have volunteered to do anything in 10 years, at church specifically. Because I do really feel like, oh, I'm not good at very many things, or I don't know how to do this, or I'm not good with kids. You know, I've always made all these excuses in my mind. And that's one reason why when I finished the 23 new things I did in 2023, I immediately started working on my next things for 2024. And that was one of them, was to volunteer. And I did find that it really made me feel good and accomplished, and I picked something that was like very easy and kind of in my wheelhouse to sort of start out. And I do want to do more of volunteering in different capacities, but I do think in general it really does help to make you a better person, and also take some of the thought off of yourself, you know, especially if we're spending all this time now maybe thinking about ourselves. We don't want to get too caught up in that. We also want to think about other people, and you know, the joy that comes from serving other people. So volunteering, I think, is a huge thing that I really do want to implement more of personally and as a family, like the four of us. So I think that's going to be, for me going forward, definitely something I want to do more of. Make sure that I'm making time for myself. I've talked about this so much on my channel, especially as a mom, a stay-at-home mom, a homeschooling mom, a work-at-home mom. It is so hard to find time to spend with not only everybody in your family, but also to do things for yourself. And even as my kids have gotten older, they're 19 and 13 now, they need me. Basically, they could survive, you know, for a very long time without me, probably forever. I don't want to admit that, but they probably could. And, you know, I have no reason why I can't use this stage of life to do more things for myself. And I do some things, like I work out consistently. I did get a massage a few weeks ago. But, you know, for the most part, I don't really do anything a whole lot for myself. Pretty much everything I do in some way, form, or fashion benefits my family, which is okay. But I think it's also important to make sure that you're making time for yourself. And so, you know, are you making time to read? Are you making time if you like to take baths or work out or get a massage or get your nails done? Even if it's just going to the store by yourself, just getting away and doing things by yourself, for yourself, I think is really beneficial. And number 5, and I'm going to mention that 23 things video again, but force yourself to do things that scare you in a good way. You know, you don't have to like go skydiving if it like absolutely terrifies you. You can, but that's one thing that I have really been trying to do, is make myself do things that I've never done, or have not done in a very, very long time. If you haven't seen that video, I highly recommend you check it out. There's some really funny, random, small things on there, but there's also some, for me, some pretty big things. And like I said, as soon as that video was over and I had the 23 things done, I immediately started on the next list of things, because I really want to keep pushing myself. So for example, last week I went indoor rock climbing. It was something that my kids have been asking me to do, and I have been putting it off, and it terrifies me to like look stupid. I don't know how it's gonna feel to be up that high. I don't know how it's gonna feel to like fall backwards and think like that thing is gonna catch you. But it was actually really fun, and I did actually enjoy it. And I would have never known if I hadn't forced myself to do it. And you guys, if you watch that 23 things video, I mean, I talked in a little bit more detail about how extremely guarded I am, and how I am I'm very much a spectator of our life. Like, I will go with people and I will do things with them, and I will plan events for people, but I usually am the one sitting while everybody else is skating or rock climbing or whatever we do. And I don't want to do that anymore. I really want to be a lot more free with myself and let myself look stupid, let myself try new things. If I don't like it, I don't have to do it again. So I encourage you guys, be on this journey with me. Force yourself to do small, medium, and big things that are out of your comfort zone. And for me, I mean, I am extremely regimented. I do the same thing every day. I eat pretty much the same things every day. So what is out of your comfort zone may be totally different than what's out of mine. But I encourage you guys to do it. Even make a list of some things you might want to try. Or, you know, just the next time you go out somewhere, maybe get something different at a restaurant, maybe go a different way to get somewhere. Maybe do some activities like roller skating, ice skating, indoor rock climbing, you know, all these different things, maybe physical things. But it does definitely, I think, grow you as a person and gives you a lot more confidence. So that's something I've actually been surprised at myself. I'm a lot more capable than I thought I was. I'm not saying I'm good at everything, and I'm not, but I'm a lot more capable than I thought I was. Something else I think would be highly beneficial for you and everybody in your family is taking time away from your phone. This is something, again, I've talked about at length on my channel in all different ways, talking about with teenagers and kids and then as families, how cell phones are basically destroying families and relationships and communication. Even though it's meant to communicate, it has taken away so much of our communication skills and the time that we have with the people that we love. So maybe a social media Sabbath. Maybe you have a day of the week that nobody gets on social media, or maybe you have a day of the week that nobody gets on their phones, or maybe there's certain times of each day, like dinner time or movie time, that nobody's allowed to have a phone. Even the parents. I think sometimes parents think that, well, they're exempt from that and it's just the kids. But really, the less time you can spend on your phone, the better off you will be. I can pretty much guarantee it. There's nothing really on your phone that is going to make your life better significantly in the long run. But turning it off and putting it away is not only going to help you maybe health-wise, because cell phones, you know, are potentially physically dangerous, but also your relationships and the people that you're with and you're talking to, that they feel like you're actually in the room with them. You're actually talking to them. You're actually listening to what they're saying. You're not constantly scrolling while you're doing something else. You're not, you know, on Instagram when somebody's trying to talk to you. And so many of the best conversations that we have had as a family have been when we turn off the phones, turn off the TV, and just sit around and like randomly talk about whatever comes up in our mind. And you can't do that though if your mind and your hands are always occupied on a phone. So I highly encourage you guys, put the phone down in whatever capacity that means for you. And for me, a couple years ago, it meant even not putting it in my bedroom at night. Like, I don't even sleep with it in my room anymore. It stays downstairs. And I bought an alarm clock, and I have a sound machine, and I can, you know, wake up with my alarm clock, and I can use the sound machine for noise if I need it, but I don't have to have my phone in my room. And that has helped me so much in so many different ways, as far as going to sleep and also getting up in the morning, not sitting on my phone and scrolling. So really think about your phones, really think about how your kids are using their phones and how it is impacting you as a person and as a family, and figure out what things you can do to reduce the amount of time that you're on the phone to make your lives better. Another thing that I have been working really hard on, and this is very difficult for me, is to be more open and let people in. I am not only extremely regimented and uptight and high strung when it comes to things that I do and that I eat and experiences that I allow myself to have, but I'm also very tight and closed up when it comes to vulnerability and emotions and letting people in, especially new people. You know, there's a handful of people that I let in to different degrees, but I have really, for whatever reason, and that goes back to number one, like, why do I do this? But I have really become very closed off to a lot of people in a lot of ways. And I'm trying really hard. It is difficult because I'm very stubborn and I'm very, I don't want to say apprehensive, but that's really kind of how it feels. I'm just very close knit when it comes to letting people in and being emotional. I feel like a lot of that is tied into not wanting to seem weak, not wanting to seem vulnerable, because that makes you more susceptible to being hurt, but that's okay. You know, with certain people, it's okay to open up to that and let certain people have that ability to hurt you, because really those are the relationships that mean the most. If you don't love somebody enough for them to be able to just like wreck your heart, then what's the point in having that relationship with them in the first place? Like, if you keep everybody at arm's length, you treat everybody the same and nobody's allowed access to who you are at your core, that's very limiting for you as a person, and you're gonna have a very limited experience with any depth to relationships that you might have with different people. So picking and choosing who those people are is definitely a thought process. Who is worthy of letting them in, who's not, who is, you know, who's worth the risk, I guess you should say, and who's not. And that sounds terrible, but that really is what you have to boil down to. So relationships are complicated, and you have to figure out for you you know, who those people are, and then really work on letting them in, because that is the only way you're going to find true depth in your relationships, I have learned. So that's a process for me, but something I'm encouraging you guys to think about as well. And then number 8, and this is something I'm going to say pretty much anytime something comes up about bettering yourself, I'm going to talk about Christianity and your faith, because I am a Christian, and I do know without a shadow of a doubt, and I believe without a shadow of a doubt, that my relationship with God is the most important relationship I will have. If I have no other relationships in my entire life until the day I die, the relationship that I have with God is the most important. It's the only one that lasts, and it's the one that's gonna give me, you know, eternal life in heaven or not. So, and this is a journey that I'm always on, and people think just because somebody's a Christian, they've got it all figured out and their life is perfect and they don't mess up and they don't struggle, and that's definitely not true. Christians struggle just as much as anybody else. Even if you believe what you need to believe, and even if you're saved, growing your faith is always something you should be doing. And it's not easy for anybody, for any Christian. You know, you're still going to have struggles, you're still going to have doubts, you're still going to have fears, you're still going to have those weak spots in your faith that you really need to work on. For me, it's even just some of the things like the habit of reading my Bible, or not falling asleep when I'm praying, and making sure that I'm praying every day, at least once a day, if not multiple times a day. You know, making sure that I am representing Him well every time I open my mouth or walk out the door, because basically I am. We are representing Christ as Christians. And am I representing Him well? Am I doing something that is worthy of Him being proud of me? And so those are things that as a Christian, you're always hopefully doing. You're always hopefully growing in your faith and your relationship with Him. So I did just do a video about some things that I really feel like God has laid on my heart and is trying to teach me. Wasn't a very popular video. I knew it wouldn't be when I made it, and I know pretty much any religious video won't be popular when I make them. I know that ahead of time going into it, but I feel like every time I put those videos up out of obedience to what I feel like God is telling me to do, at least one person will say, "This changed my life. You know, you changed my life." And so that to me is kind of my answer to keep going and keep sharing whenever I feel like God is laying stuff on my heart. So anyway, I'll link that video for you guys if you're interested. It is something that I do feel like God is trying to teach me right now, but I think it's also something that you would benefit from as well. So definitely check that video out if you haven't already. And all of these things are journeys that I'm on. There's more. There's more than this. These are just kind of the 8 things that came to mind immediately when I really thought about what have I been doing and what am I actively working on, and these 8 things were the first things I thought of. So like I said earlier, maybe some of these things are things you already have down pat and you don't need to worry about that. But there may be some things that you hadn't really thought that maybe you should work on, or maybe some things that you're working on as well, and we're doing this kind of at the same time. So I feel like part of the reason and my thought behind sharing my journey that I'm on is because I know I can't be the only one, and I know that anyway, but I also I've been made aware of that because you guys have told me in these last couple of videos of this kind of journey that I'm on, of like, you're not the only one. I'm doing the same thing. I'm feeling the same struggles. So we're in this together. I feel like this is a community. Even though it does feel very one-sided sometimes to sit here and film, your guys' comments really help me to keep going. So make sure if this video touched you, or you have anything that you want to add to it as far as like growing yourself, or maybe some things you're trying to do to grow yourself and improve yourself, leave me that in the comments. It really does help me to decide like what you guys want me to talk about going forward. But also it kind of gives me that reassurance that I need and that hand holding that I need to keep going in my own journey and to keep sharing that journey with you guys. So make sure you leave me a comment. Give this video a thumbs up if you'd like to see more like this. If you're not already, I would love to have you subscribe and become part of my YouTube channel family, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.